Welcome to Travel with Danny and MJ. I'm Mary Jane.
And I'm Danny. We're traveling the world with just carry-ons and a backpack each.
One of the things we discovered when we got to Belgium and Brussels is that there was the set of trails to follow famous comic strip characters and artists from Belgium. Belgium has a long history in the comic strip industry, and a lot of you know that I was a big comic book collector as a kid. I just got rid of that collection recently as we were purging. So comic books and comic strips are kind of adjacent. They're not really the same thing, but some started as comic strips and became comic books, and some comic books have been, seen in comic strips as well. So we decided to follow these trails all around Brussels. And we also discovered it was a great way to kind of see the city. It was kind of just led us through different neighborhoods to enjoy it. So this video is all of those trips around Brussels, walking all through different neighborhoods and discovering these comic strips. We weren't able to find them all, so there are some gaps. Either the trail didn't lead us correctly or we didn't follow it correctly, but we got most of them, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, way at the top there is the most famous Belgian comic Tintin. It's everywhere, and Steven Spielberg made a movie sometime in 2011. Tintin.
This series, drawn by Swiss artist Minari, has many daring sword fights in catacombs and other interesting.
So up top is Gaston. We may have met him before. He thinks it's too nice a day to be working for his boss. So he leans over his window ledge in the jury and hits passing by on the head.
This one is called Le Passage, and the artists Francois Chuiten and Benoit Peters bring perspective change and elaborations on how people in olden days envisioned the future. They argue that the universe they depict in their obscure cities really exists, and there's a connection between Brussels and Bruxelles. German cartoonist Ralph Koenig created this mural as an homage to the LGBT community in the world. This is Bruxelles. It is the first comic strip mural that was put up in Brussels in 1991. The creator Frank Pay admits that Bruxelles is his alter ego, and these two friends are dreamers. They imagine whales flying over the city and all kinds of fantastical things happening in their life. This one's called Rick O'Shea, and in it a villain is threatening Nadine with a knife. Commissaire Bourdon and his puppy, and especially Rick O'Shea, are nearby. This shrewd journalist with a Porsche and a limited wardrobe outwits charlatans and lunatics. The artist is Tibet, and the writer Duchateau are also behind the duo Chick Bell.
Okay, in this comic strip you see Victor Sackville, and he was a spy for England during World War I. And he was always known as the impeccably dressed gentleman who will do anything he can to disrupt the enemy's plans. So this is just like me and Danny. This depicts Thorgal with his wife Aricia. Beneath his warlike exterior lies a character passionate about justice and freedom, who longs only for a peaceful life with his beloved wife.
Fruit et Souffle was originally a television cartoon that changed into a comic strip, kind of the opposite way. These two blue dogs down in the lower right corner are philosophical in a typical Belgian way. Philippe Dupuis and Charles Baudrillard created Monsieur Jean. The strip goes from melancholy to lightheaded as Monsieur Jean goes through typical everyday struggles of relationship issues, disinterested friends, and the monotony of everyday routine. This is Kinky and Cozy, and these two twin girls are wreaking havoc on Brussels in the name of their peace flag. They've made a mess of their room with their skateboard, their soda pop, their Brussels sprouts, as well as their bag of frites or fries, of course in the Belgian way with mayonnaise. Much like Jason Bourne, XIII, or Roman numeral 13, is an excellent fighter who has gaps in his memory, and as part of his adventures he is trying to piece together what his life was. This is Young Albert, the story of a young prankster in post-war Brussels. This was created by the artist Yves Charland, who died tragically in a car accident at 33, and collectors now value his modest body of work for very significant prices. Here we see Olivier Rameau reaching his hand out to his friend Colombe. In their world, you don't pay with money, but with tears of joy, songs, laughter, and a kiss.
This one is based on the comic strip
Les Crocodiles.
And this fresco raises awareness of street harassment and everyday sexism. Through a board of 6 scenes, the work highlights everyday behaviors that are far from trivial.
This one is called La Vache, and there's so much going on you don't even know where to look at all of these different things. It's a 2-part mural. There's also one going up the steps over here, and it's inside of a youth hostel. It was really tricky to find it, but when you come to 23 Damier, you have to go inside of the hostel, and then it's on the walls inside. This is Titouf. He's on a school trip, and he's climbed on top of the atomium. And the write-up says whether he's looking to see if his hair is okay, or he's looking down to see the girls. This one was not on the list for this comic strip trail, but we stumbled across it, so looks pretty good. King Kong or a big gorilla and a little kid in a Batman t-shirt.
This is by Francois Walvary, and this is Natasha, and she's an air hostess. And she is fierce, they say. She's a determined young woman.
The artist Maurice Thillot created Gilles Jourdan and his adventures as a detective. Here's our last stop on the Lecken tour, and this comic strip is in not great shape. Apparently the guy in the chair there with the mustache who's almost peeling away is a very famous character here. Okay, so this is La Marsupilami. It was created in 1952 by the artist Franquin, and it appeared in the first time in the magazine of Spirou, which we saw in another place. And it's just this animal family. It looks like leopards, or I guess leopards, with their long kind of prehensile tails and adventure.
This is Jomek by Jeff Nice, and it tells the adventures of 2 children and their professor and his parrot, Flip. You can see the parrot on the right. And in this particular painting, there's some sights from the neighborhood, including the bridge there called the Jubilee Bridge, and the park that they're in is Torn Taxis, which we've walked through before. This painting, called Tamara, is typical of one of the festivals they have in Laeken. Every year they celebrate the return of light after the winter, and they take their lanterns and they have a parade. We don't have an official write-up on this one, but we're near a park. You can definitely hear kids playing, so I guess it's some depiction of that. And it's fairly new, 2021. It's in the bottom right corner, so it looks new and beautiful.
Another one we found not on the official tour by the New Plateau from 2022. It's like just a depiction of the neighbor. This is Solastalgie. It is relatively new, again from 2021 by Eva Roussel. We don't have much of a write-up, but again, this beautiful art walking through the city. Willy Vandermeer created Spike and Susie, who are at the top of this column being held up by mannequin fish with Strong Jerome, and Sidonia. The artist was known for his kind of lowbrow humor.
This wall art is by Dominique Goblet, and the people from the neighborhood chose her to be the artist to paint on their wall.
Okay, we're on the St. Catherine's comic book trail. This is the character Corto Maltese. These 4 panels are 80 meters long and represent his adventures in Africa, the Celts, Samarkand, and Siberia. The fluffy white dog Cubitus is the correct creation of Walloon artist Tupa. He likes good food, a good novel, and conversation. He also is subject many times to his master's semaphore. His master Semaphore's experiments unwillingly. Life on the street is tough for Billy the Cat, but he's got lots of friends like Sausage and others who will help him out. Billy is a boy who was turned into a cat and wants to become human again. This is Brecht Evans' flower garden. It is 415 square meters and overlooks, it's a garden of its own, a real garden below. It invites you to think about traveling and visiting other cultures and immersing yourselves in places near and far away. The adventurous Carolyn Baldwin embellishes the windows here in the Canal District and is the creation of Andre Taymans. She is always entrusted with the most difficult mysteries to solve. Zidru is a very prolific comic strip author from Belgium. He's down there in the lower left corner imagining some of his many characters, including his most famous Dukobu, Leonard, Amélie, and many others that he created as part of his works. Armand created 3 albums about the boy Nick having dreams and traveling around with his animal friends, a gorilla, an elephant, a turtle, a hippopotamus, a giraffe, a crocodile, and they went on adventures in his dreams, though the adventures did not always turn out. Bob Demour, who worked very closely with Hergé on Tintin, also created Corey the Cabin Boy and his adventures on the sea for the Dutch East India Company, which brought Netherlands its golden age. The series is full of adventure on the high seas. The Dalton brothers have robbed a bank, but they won't get far because Lucky Luke has his eyes on them. And as you can see, he draws his pistol faster than his shadow can keep up. This was created by another author, but this is a life's work really of the artist Morris. Created a humorous Western-based cartoon and was one of the most successful European comics. Asterix and Obelisk are attacking a Roman village with their many friends, led by their trusty pooch dog Matrix. And this cartoon was very successful throughout Europe for many, many years. The Rascal Jacobu, one of the most famous creations of the artist Zidru, who we saw earlier, is always trying to infuriate his professor and to cheat off of his friend Leonie, who tries to prevent him scowling up at him. This mural, entitled "In My Area," is by the artist Lucy Mackenzie and is an homage to all of the other comic strip murals throughout the city. The artist became fascinated with them and wanted to contribute, and it was a collaboration between the art school Wheel and the city of Brussels to create this particular piece of work. The Angel is by the artist Isler and is kind of a look back on the eventful but perhaps not great 20th century. Many wars and troubles, but it was a look back at that century in a forlorn. La Murals is called Quick and Flupki, created by Hergé, who also created Tintin or Tintin, depending on your native language, I suppose. The next stop on the comic strip tour is Leonard, who is a caricature of Leonardo da Vinci. And in this photo, he's doing a painting of the Palais de Justice. So the next one is Blondine and Siraj. They are at this grocer, and they are a couple of do-gooders. One is more action-focused, Siraj, and the other one is more kind of trying to solve the problems.
Alright, this one depicts the crazy adventures of missionary Odilon Verjus with his disciple Bose Menu at his side. Josephine Baker is the star here.
These can be tricky to find. This is Cat in a Suit. He's a kind of philosopher trying to get a smile out of his audience.
This one's called Jojo, a mischievous boy, and his friend Fat Louie are testing how strong the light fitting is and are always giving Mammy a hard time. This is by Andre Geert.
This next one is The Scouts of the Beaver Patrol. It's done by Pitak, and it's the adventures of a group of Boy Scouts adventuring what troubles they get into.
Artist Roba drew inspiration from her family, and that's Billy and Buddy, his son and dog. And this mural was officially unveiled for the first time in 1992 and was restored in 2014. And the building had some work done.
This is Spirou, created in 1938 by artist Rob Bell, and has been redone by many different artists through the years.
In this piece of art, Steph and Janry are making fun of St. Peter and Lucifer.
Benoit Bricifer is a little boy with a big heart and great strength. He was always looking to help people. He actually lose his strength if he catches a cold. He's always trying to... We don't know much about this one. It's called Lake and Mortimer. Looks like a couple of action heroes.
This is a painting of Yoko Tsuno. She was one of the first Japanese woman in comic strips. And she played an electrical engineer. Pretty good.
This tunnel art is by the artist, her name is Aurélie. She's an author and illustrator, and her art is kind of a cross between the comic strip model and contemporary art. And it's on the roof of this tunnel.
Okay, this one by Mathilde Van Galloway represents a map of the neighborhood using Milky Ways and constellations. This artwork by Fabienne Lutz, who is a comic book author, illustrator, novelist, represents couples watching over the inhabitants of this neighborhood. They come from Belgium, Congo, Guinea, Senegal, France, Spain, and Poland.
We're in the Comics Art Museum, which goes through the history of comic strip art in Belgium, starting in 1929 with Tintin or Tintin, and all of the different artists and versions of these kinds of characters. The museum has many examples of characters we've seen during the war, like Tintin and Spirou, and so many others that were taken from comic strips, put into what we think of as comic books. They even have an example of the first Action Comics was about Superman from 1938, a book of Tarzan from 1929 even. And there's another character out on the comic strip trail who was brought to life in animation as well as on